Hi everyone, welcome back. I did a survey with my Year 8 math class. By the way, there was quite a few people away. And I was asking them how many cars they had in their family. So we come up with these results. Then we come along with those results. And once they're in a table like this, a lot of people struggle with how to get the mean, the mode, the median, and the range. So looking at the data like this causes a lot of people problems. So what I'm going to show you is one of the fail-proof methods that works. Now, some of you watching will go, but there's a shortcut you can do. What I do with my teaching, a lot of times I don't give you the shortcut straight away, and then hopefully I can lead you up to the shortcut. If you're really good at your maths, maybe I can just tell you the shortcut and you can see what it is. Look what's happened here. So we're looking at how many families had one car. So on this table, 3 families had one car. So that means I had a family with one, another family with one, another family with one. And what confuses people is this is saying there are 3 lots of 1. Whereas this one here is saying 5 lots of 2. So if we went back to the original data that I got from my class, some people said 1. How many people said 1? And there was 3 of them. So 3 people said 1. How many people said they had 2 cars in their family? You can see them here. 5 people said they had 2. So the confusion here is 5 people said they had 2 cars. And then how many people said they had 3 cars? So 5 people said they had 3 cars. 3 people said they had 4 cars. 1 person said they had 5 cars. 1 person said they had 6 cars. And no one said they had 7 cars, and no one said they had 8 cars, and no one said they had 9 cars. So that means there's a 5 and a 6. Now, if I had that data written down, and I said to you, tell me what the mode is. Now, I always talk about the mode just being the number that turns up the most. So look at this one. We had 5 lots of 2, and we had 5 lots of 3. So if we go back over to the table here, 5 people said they had 2 cars, and 5 people said they had 3 cars. So in this one we talk about there are 2 modes. People will talk about being bimodal, just like you have a bicycle or a biplane or whatever. When you're talking about 2, we talk about bi. So there's actually 2 answers. There's 2 or there is 3. So there's 2 modes. And of course you could get 3, but it starts to become a bit silly when we get up to 3. The next one I'm going to talk about is the range. What I've done is traditionally I'll talk about the mean first. But in this one, I'm talking about the easiest ones you can possibly do. So you walk into the test and you go, oh, I can't remember this, I can't remember that. But the mode is the one that turns up the most. Now the range is the highest minus the lowest. People will talk about the maximum minus the minimum. So go back over to here. This is what I'll call the largest. People will call it the maximum. And this is what I call the smallest. So we go the largest, the smallest, or the highest. So people can use whatever words they want. The highest minus the lowest. So the highest is 6 and the lowest is 1. Now the answer is not 6 take 1. 6 take 1 is 5. So the answer is actually the 5. Next one I want to talk about is the median. A median I call the middle. So in Australia we have a median strip, which is a bit of concrete that goes down the middle. So the median normally in life just means the middle. So I do talk about how do you find the middle. I do this though, okay? Some people look at it and go, oh my goodness, did you really do that? If I had 5 scores, that one is the middle. If I had 4 scores, there's 2 middles. And you've got to find the score in between the 2 middles. What I'm going to say for the moment, if that was 3 and that was 3, the middle of 3 and 3 is 3. If that was 3 and 4, the middle of 3 and 4 is 3.5. If that was 3 and that was 5, some of you will need to see it written down. The middle of 3 and 5 is, take time to think, and it's 4. So if I have 5 scores, this is just a finger, and I do it to lots of people all the time. 5 scores, there's an odd number of scores. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If there's an odd number of scores, there is 1 middle. And it is the root finger in Australia, but in this context, it's just the middle finger. So if you have 5 scores, the middle is that one there. By the way, if I had 7 scores, so that means 3 this side and 3 that side. So it's no longer a middle finger. So there's my middle score there. So when there's an odd number of scores, there's one middle. When there's an even number of scores, there are two middles. And you have to find the middle of those two, and that's called the median. So if I go to this one here, sometimes I like just to tick them off. So I want the middle. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll tick off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, say 3. 1, 2, 3. And I've got two scores in the middle, and just like a moment ago, they're both 3. So what's the middle of 3 and 3? It is 3. I have students say all sorts of things like 6 and 3.5. So if two scores are the same, the middle is the same score. So the middle in this question is 3. Now, I'm going to rub some of that off and now do the mean. Now this is a big one, mean. Most people will refer to mean and they'll talk about it as the average. Some people understand the word average better than others, and that makes sense to a lot of people. If I look at the mean for these scores, you add up all the scores. So I'd add up a 1 plus a 1 plus a 1 plus a 2 plus a 2, and I could keep going. I'll jump ahead. So I add up all the scores and I divide by how many scores there are. And people, if it was nice simple numbers, like if we had say 3, 4 and 5, you go 3 plus 4 plus 5 and divide it by 3. So that's easy for most people, but this video is about what if we have a bigger case. Now, by the way, how many scores do they have? You can go through here and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16, 17, 18. Some of you can fast forward if you want to, well, I'm going to do in a moment, so we divide that by 18. One of the shortcuts, instead of doing it like that, is we had 3 ones. So if you go back to the table over here, we had 3 ones. So if you wanted to go 3 ones of 3, let's forget about the table for a moment. You can see the 3 ones there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 twos. If you wanted to, we could write that as 3 ones plus 5 twos plus 5 threes. And of course, you could do it the long way, but if the numbers become too big, it's a pain. Plus 1, 2, 3. So there are 3 fours. There's 1 5 and there's 1 6. So sometimes that's really helpful. I'm going to show you how to do it over here. Traditionally, we call F for frequency. And here's the funny one for maths, but it happens all over the world in everything we do. We call that X. So some people add an extra column in called an FX column. And all the FX column is to remind you is to multiply that by that. So 3 times 1 is 3, and there's our 3 there. 5 times 2, so there's our 5 times 2, or there's our 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 twos, so that's 10. So this, for some people, works better. Some people still have to keep going through the long way. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 threes. So there we've got it. 5 lots of 3, so that's 15. And then you've got 1, 2, 3 lots of 4. So here we have it, 3 lots of 4, so that's 12. 1 lot of 5 and 1 lot of 6. And then you can add up that as a total. Now, people talk about all sorts of mathematical things. I don't really want to go too far with them. But a lot of people use this little symbol there, and it means add up the FX column. So here's our FX column, add them up. That's the same as going 3 plus 10 plus 15 plus 12 plus 5 plus 6, and then divide it all by 18. And by the way, if you wanted to double check how many people were in the class, you add up the frequency. You don't add up these, you add up the frequency. So I could go 3, 8, 13, 16, 17, 18. You can see there were 18 people in the class, and a lot of people call that N equals 18 on your calculator, especially if you get to the ClassPad calculators and the other calculators, and even on computers, they'll talk about it as being N. So the number of people in the class on that day that filled out this survey was 18. Now I can add it up and divide by 18. So I've got 13, I've got 23, 28, 38, 40, and I've got 51 on 18. And you get up with this weird number that's 51 on 18, and then some people don't know what to do with it. By the way, a lot of times in assessments, 51 and 18 will be accepted as full marks. Then if you wanted to, you could write as 2 and 8/9. Now I know that that's 2.8 repeater. So if you wanted to write the 2.8 repeater, you can. Going a bit long-winded now. This is just extra for those who want some details. So if you wanted to write 2 decimal places, so if we had 2.88888, if I chop it off there and I don't use those, I still talk about the peekaboo method. So if I looked at the next number, the number after the 8 is an 8, which is a big number. That means that this becomes a 9. So when you're rounding off, if the next number's big, this goes up. If the next number's small, that stays the same. Oh, too much. So go back to the things we've got. Mode. The most is the 2 and the 3. So there's 2 modes. The range is the biggest or the highest or the largest minus the smallest. So 6 take 1's 5. So if you go over the table here, 2 turns up the most and 3 turns up the most. So you can read a lot of them straight from the table. The biggest score is 6, So the biggest, as if we call that the biggest, and that one there is the smallest. The biggest and the smallest is 6 and 1, so you go 6 take 1 is the range, which is 5, not the 6 take 1. Then the median is the middle, so it's pretty hard to tell the median on there. I'm not going to go onto it in this video, but you could figure it out, just like I did over here by saying get rid of 5 and get rid of 5. And then the mean is you could write all the scores out, or you can go, I've got an FX column and an FX, just the frequency times the score. If you don't do that in year 8, it probably doesn't matter unless the numbers get pretty big. It's handy though if you know how to do it.